Welcome to the Biobase Europe pilot plant in Ghent, Belgium, and thank you to all 870 of you for tuning in from over 45 countries. Today's visit to our pilot plant is virtual. That's too bad. On the other hand, it opens the opportunity to show you our plant from inconceivable angles, to give a S.B.E course to those who wonder, what is scale-up and why would you want to do that? To show you what flexibility means in the daily life of an engineer and a technician, we can time-lapse a process to make scale-up look impossibly fast. We can talk to customers and listen to their experience with scale-up. And we can give starring roles to colleagues who are not in daily contact with customers. All this to show you in 50 minutes how a state-of-the-art shared service pilot facility brings bio-based innovative products from the lab to the market for companies around the world. The last 10 minutes are for your questions to any of the speakers, also to the customers we will be talking to. Please post them in the chat throughout the show. Now, let's get started with a message from our CEO, who will then take you on a fast and turbulent flight through the pilot plant.
Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. My name is Wim Soetaert and I have been flying this aircraft for more than 10 years now. I'm very happy that so many of you from all over the globe decided to join us today. I would have loved to welcome every single one of you in person here at the Biobase Europe pilot plant in Ghent in Belgium, but for obvious reasons this is not possible at this moment. Nevertheless, we will host you today with the same hospitality as always, and we'll even serve you a coffee. So sit back, relax and enjoy your flight.
Maintain 4,800 to establish an approach.
You now have an overview of our equipment landscape, a wide variety of tools we can use to make, for example, biosurfactants, proteins, bioplastics, crop protection or pest control agents, enzymes, biofuels, flavors, nutraceuticals. But how do we do this? Who turns the buttons? Why? And for whom? Let's listen to Hendrik's short course on Scale Up.
Thank you, Muriel. Also from my end, welcome to this virtual visit to the Biobase Europe pilot plant. Before we dive deeper into our technologies and go live to our customers, please allow me to present a 5-minute beginner's guide to Scale Up. This beginner's guide is in fact a sneak preview of the more elaborate guide Scale Up for Dummies, the perfect Christmas present for all your colleagues, and where we touch topics like the what, the why, the where, the when, the who and the how of Scale Up. What is Scale Up? Scale Up is the art of translating a protocol developed at laboratory scale into a technically and economically viable process at production scale. For bioprocesses, this can for example be the translation of the production of your bio-based product in a 1 liter shake flask to a 200,000 liter fermenter. How many steps and how many intermediate scales that will take you entirely depends on the complexity of the process and the robustness of the microorganism. For some bioprocesses, like brewing beer, this might be achieved in only a handful of steps. However, for most industrial bioprocesses, scale-up will be a journey of many years, including unforeseen setbacks and frustrations. Another challenge for our business is that, contrary to beer or wine, we have to purify our bio-based product from the fermentation broth, using industrially applicable methods and equipment. In industrial fermentation processes, the cost for downstream purification can easily attribute to 60% of the overall production cost, and mimicking the required unit operations on laboratory scale is very difficult. But why is scale-up so crucial? Well, let's have a look at this curve. When processes are developed at lab scale, the technological risk is high, but the capital requirements to fund the research is low. There are plenty of investors who will be interested to support these good ideas. At the other side of the curve, when technology is going to be deployed, the technological risk has been reduced to a very low level, and the capital requirements can be high. This can again be a very interesting phase for investors or banks to step in. However, at this intermediate scale, the pilot and demo scale, both the technological risk is high and you need a lot of capital. This is the phase where many investors run out of the room and your innovation dies quietly in the valley of death, where it will find many more corpses of other once high potential innovations. This is exactly where Biobase Europe Pilot Plan steps in. By offering a shared pilot facility, we can significantly reduce the cost, the time, and the risk to get your innovation to the market. Not convinced yet? Well, let's take a practical example. Imagine a company called BioOptimist. It's a fictive company that has developed a new bio-based product at laboratory scale. And BioOptimist wants to scale up their technology to 15,000 liter scale because they want to demonstrate the technology to show investors that it works, because they want to generate enough sample material for downstream application tests or to supply first market needs, and they want to have the data for life cycle assessment and techno-economic assessment. They sit together with a consultant to define what is needed to get there, and they come up with this program. They're going to test their fermentation process at 150 liter scale. They think they will need around 10 runs for that, and they're going to do downstream feasibility tests on the broth generated. From there, they're going to take the process to 1500 liter scale, and they're going to take two promising DSP routes to be tested. Finally, they're going to validate the process at 15,000 liter scale with the best downstream process available. Bioptimist has two options. Either they're going to build their own pilot and demonstration units, or they're going to collaborate with the Biobase Europe pilot plant. When they do it themselves, when they build their own pilot and demonstration unit, they of course have to construct the plant, they have to build the plant. They believe, very optimistically, that they need 3 months to do the design and they need 1 year to construct the plant. They need roughly 15 to 25 million euro to fund the construction of the pilot plant, and they need an OPEX of 5 million euro a year to operate the plant. When they collaborate with the Biobase Europe pilot plant, nothing needs to be designed or constructed. Typically, no investments are needed because all the equipment is already there. And for the program you've seen on the previous slide, you need roughly, rough estimation, 1 million euro to fund that pilot and demonstration work. So as you can see, it's much faster to work with the Biobase Europe pilot plant, which is very important to be ahead of the competition. It's also much cheaper, it's a fraction of the cost, but we believe it's also much better to collaborate with the Biobase Europe pilot plant because all the scale-up expertise is here under one roof. So relax, we have all the equipment you need. However, running a pilot plant is much more than having nice toys to play with. It's the talent and the expertise that has allowed us to grow to an organization of more than 100 people. Scale-up goes with ups and downs, with sometimes great results, but also sometimes with slow-growing microbes, blocked filters and other unexpected results. In such situations, you need a team that can handle difficult circumstances and a mindset that embraces flexibility. With this, I have come to the end of my talk and I will give the word back to Marielle. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Hendrik. Any questions to Hendrik can be posted in the chat and will be answered during the Q&A session at the end of this event. Yes, flexibility is key in a pilot environment. In the mindset of the operational crew, but also in the physical process installations. First, we dream up a process, then we build it. Whether we have 100 liters of material available or 10,000. Whether we need to do filtration to remove fibers, centrifugation to separate biomass, solvent extraction of an organic compound, crystallization of sugars, ion exchange to remove salts or to absorb a hydrophobic metabolite, or if we need to perform cross-flow membrane filtration for separation, washing, or concentration of oligomers. All this with the instrumentation and sampling valves needed to quantify the capacity, efficiency, quality, and mass balance. Dries and Kevin will show you just how they build production lines that match all these needs. Scaling up a process requires close communication with the customer because it's their technology we're taking from the lab all the way to the 10,000 liter scale. We serve small and large companies from all over the world, from different sectors: food, biotech, agricultural technology, and others. So they are very closely involved in every trial and every decision, every step of the way. So let's call one of those customers and listen to their scale up experience. Rakesh, who will you call?
Thank you, Muriel. I would like to invite Paul de Kramer, CFO of InBios. InBios is a Belgian company with whom we have not only collaborated in several European, mainly BBI, and Flemish regional LIO projects, but are also involved in a private collaboration. Welcome, Paul. Can you please give the audience more information about your company?
Good morning, Rakesh. Thanks for having us. So, a short introduction on MBOs. We are a University Ghent industrial biotech spin-off, which is focused on developing fermentation processes to produce specialty carbohydrates for use in health and nutritional solutions. We have been established in 2013, and we have grown very fastly into an organization of 50 persons. We have a proprietary technology platform which is called Glycoactives, and this platform allows us to produce any complex carbohydrate in industrial scale, and that's really an accomplishment because there's a real need in the industry for large-scale production of complex carbohydrates, which is not obvious to do. So we are filling that need, and we have a very proprietary and validated platform to do that. So we are currently focusing on human milk oligosaccharides. We have two products in the market, and we are now working on several new HMOs to bring them in the market or to launch them in the market in the course of 2021. Next slide. So a little bit detail on our glycoactive platform. So it's a microbial fermentation platform. So we design microbes to produce complex carbohydrates. We feed them with simple sugars. And in the microbe, there are some building blocks which are built, such as L-glucose, sialic acid, glucosamine. And these building blocks are then assembled in the microbe and excreted as a complex carbohydrate in the fermentation pot. And in order to come to a pure product, we do some purification steps. And at the end, we have a very pure white product, which is sold to the nutritional markets.
Thank you very much, Paul, for this excellent insight about your company and your technology. I have some questions for you to ask.
Please.
At which scales did you perform trials at Biobase Europe pilot plant, and how crucial is it to perform these different steps?
So we typically develop our processes on a 30-liter fermentation scale in-house. And then we apply a 50x factor for scale up in the pilot plant. So this means that we run our trials in the pilot plant on our lab processes at 1,500 liters. We have done that now for many times with good results, and it delivers us a good insight in process data to fine-tune our cost models, and it also showed or confirms the process reproducibility of our processes, so that's an important element.
Okay.
And next to that, before we scale up in manufacturing, industrial manufacturing, we also do some 15,000 liter runs on our processes, and this gives us additional insights which can help us in transforming these processes into industrial operations.
Okay. And how has the collaboration with the pilot plant helped in the growth of your company?
Well, it helped us in many ways. First of all, it shortened down our time to market timelines, which is very important because especially HMOs is a fast developing market. So for us, it was key to have a timeline which is short as possible. So we could focus by working together with the pilot plant, we could focus on our core capabilities and then have our scale up at the pilot plant. And secondly, that second important element in the collaboration which helps us really is the external validation you create by working together with an external party like the pilot plant. Your own lab processes are run at another place. This always gives some confidence and some trust to third parties like investors and also industrial partners if your processes which you have developed in lab is also proven on a higher scale in the pilot plant.
Okay, and I'm sure this is a question where many of the startups might be thinking. Have you ever considered investing in your own pilot and demonstration facilities?
No, we didn't. First of all, we didn't have so much capitals to allocate to own pilot and industrial infrastructure. Um, so we always, in our discussions about capital allocation, we have always prioritized to spend money on our technology development and to shorten our time to market as much as possible. So that has been key in our decision making in the past years. And for us, it was very important to have access to the pilot plant and to have the possibility to scale up our processes over there. I think it's overall a wise decision because I know some companies who have built their own pilot or demonstration plant, and in the end, it costs you a lot of money because it's not only about the infrastructure, it's also about having skilled operators to work with your own infrastructure you are building, and it's also about utility costs. And if you add up everything, it's really a nice burden on your cash flows, and that's not something where we choose for. We choose for having a quick route to the market. This was for us priority.
And also in our audience, I'm sure there are a lot of universities and companies who want to work on European projects or BVI calls with us. As I mentioned in my introduction, we have collaborated on several BVI calls and regional flyer projects. How has the funding helped in your developments at Biobase Europe pilot plant?
It helped us a lot. It helped us a lot because, especially in the young days and the early stage of development of MBOs, you do not have access to so much money. So you have to work with limited amounts of money, and then if you can add up with some non-dilutive funding like grant funding from EU or from regional authorities, this really helps, and it helps also to build our glycoactives technology platform, which is probably now today one of the most performing platforms in specialty carbohydrates. So I think the money from the grants has been spent very wisely in my view.
Okay. And my last question is, since we have been working for a long time, it's a long collaboration, how has the pilot plant culture changed since you first started with us?
Well, like all companies, growing companies, you have to walk through a learning curve. That's what you did, that's what we did. And if I now take a picture from the pilot plant today, I see a very strong organization. I also see a well structured organization with a good approach to planning and execution. And also with increasing capabilities to collect process data, which is key for us. So I think you went up, you improved your company, and I think this will go on in the future.
Yeah, I look forward to a longer collaboration with you as well, Paul. Thank you for taking your time from your busy schedule for this Q&A and this introduction. And we will have more questions at the end of the virtual visit. Thank you once again.
Okay.
And I now like to give back the bridge to Muriel. Bye.
Thank you, Paul and Rakesh. Remember, any questions to Paul or Rakesh can be posted in the chat. Fermentation is a key technology for us, growing bacteria, yeast, and fungal strains that produce valuable compounds from bio-based feedstocks like sugar. Some microbes even use waste gas, CO2, and convert it via gas fermentation to chemical building blocks or proteins. Microorganisms grow in bioreactors that can be aerated and pressurized, and that allow close monitoring of everything the microbes need and make. Our largest bioreactors are 15,000 liters, and we use them to make hundreds of kilograms or even tons of novel bio-based compounds. We've flown past them today, but let's take a bit more time and have a closer look. Ladies and gentlemen, we are halfway our journey. It's time to serve your coffee and to watch a movie of a true scale-up story. It's the story of forestry waste, bark, that defeated fossil feedstocks and was transformed to 2,3-butane-diol, a chemical building block that can be used to make insulation material. Or how a tree makes a warm house. This work was performed within REHAB, a consortium project funded by the European Union within the Horizon 2020 program, one of our 24 publicly funded projects. And don't worry, the story has a happy ending at Technology Relevance Level 6.
Welcome to Biobase Europe Pilot Plant. We can do amazing things here, like turning this bark into 2,3-butane-diol, and all process steps under one roof.
The bark goes into the pulper for size reduction and extreme mixing with water. Let's pulp up the value.
We sent the pulp through the jet cooker to break open the cells under high pressure. But hey, no pressure, no diamonds.
The chamber filter press separates the wooden sugars from the biomass. And now, next step, solid liquid separation, the centrifuge.
All done here. Let's bring these precious woody sugars to the fermentation hall.
Welcome to the beating heart of Biobase Europe pilot plant. Here is where the magic happens. Using bacteria, glucose is converted to 2,3-betanediol. We constantly monitor the quality of your product and can produce food grade.
We also have large S.B.E equipment to purify our products in an efficient way.
To get the butanediol out of our fermentation broth, we use green solvents in our explosion-proof process hall.
So relax and don't bark up the wrong tree. Come to BBEPP.
Some projects use all the volume we have. These big collaborations take good preparations and a good understanding with the customer. Let's call one of those customers to hear how they perceive that. So Nico, who will you call?
Thank you, Muriel. Let's call Dr. Jeremy Gentis from Cambridge Climate Science, who's the head of technology over there. So, hello, Jeremy. I hope you're well. Can you please explain me and the audience a little bit more about Cambridge Climate Science and the technology that you have?
Hi, good morning, Nico. Thanks for the invitation. Yeah, delighted to take you through a little bit of what we do here at Cambridge Life Science. Cambridge Life Science is a company founded about 4 years ago now, in February 2017. And really our mission is to replace sugar in mainstream food products. So we manufacture a proprietary ingredient functionally and economically replaces sugar. So you can make a cookie that looks like a cookie and a brownie that looks like a brownie, but not use sucrose. You can use our ingredient. And what the benefits are? So our ingredient is actually, at worst, 50% has 50% the calories that sugar does, and also this allows our final customers and CPG manufacturers to lower the on-pack sugar that they have to declare. So currently, our company is 15 employees, and over half of those are in scientific roles. So they're spread across business development, clinical and regulatory, life sciences, and food technology. So next slide, please. With the Biobase Europe pilot plant, we've been collaborating since about mid-2019, so about 18 months now, and it's really been on food grade process design and scale up. In essence, our process that we run to make our ingredient takes plant fiber polysaccharides and uses chemical and enzyme-based processing to release oligosaccharides. And it's those oligosaccharides that are form a basis of our final ingredient. So what have we done at the pilot plant? Well, we've demonstrated end-to-end scaled processing, so about 10 cubic meter working volume, and actually a little bit higher. We've gathered learnings about our process and manufacturing that you can only really learn at scale. It's okay doing things in the lab, but proving that they really scale is important for us and important for our investors. And what we've also been able to do is produce food-grade certified ingredient. This we can give to our customers for their trials. They can do sensory analysis with it if they need it. And we can also use it for clinical and regulatory testing to move forward our regulatory approvals. So that's what we do in a nutshell, and happy to take any further questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Jeremy. I definitely have some questions for you. Maybe let's start with the actual beginning. So you mentioned in your slide that since 2019 we're collaborating, but I can imagine that for a startup it's difficult to access pilot facilities. And how did you encounter Biobase Europe pilot plants?
Yeah, so at the time, the company was doing a search of most of the facilities you might imagine across Europe, really. And what really struck out was the expertise and the willingness to help at the pilot plants being the right place to look after our development work. I was very happy when I came on board because in my previous role worked at the pilot plant, so it was good to come to a familiar place to do our work.
Yeah, and how did the collaboration with us actually accelerate your own business?
So we really started as and we are mainly a lab-based company. We don't have the facilities, we don't have the equipment. Manufacturing ship replacement products, you can't hand over 2 milligrams or even 2 grams of the ingredient to a large multinational company for testing. You have to hand over substantial amounts. And so that's what we've been able to do at the Biobase pilot plant. Is actually manufacture those meaningful quantities of ingredient that allow us to move forward more quickly with our commercial work with those partners.
Yeah, and indeed, producing those quantities, but you also mentioned in your slide that it's for a food product. And how did the fact that Biobase Europe pilot plant also can make these food products change anything in your decision with collaborating with us?
Yes, food grade manufacturing is of vital importance. It's very easy to say, it's much more difficult to do. And so having that expertise available to us at the pilot plant regarding how we do food grade manufacturing, and also having a verifiable, certifiable, traceable source that we can show that is a reputable source that can provide that ingredient to us, that can give our customers the confidence that they need in the way the ingredients being manufactured. So on 2 fronts, really, on the personal learning front for the company, it's been invaluable that the Biobase pilot plant has the food grade knowledge or food grade manufacturing knowledge, and also for our customers, it's been a real source of confidence that we can manufacture in that way with a reputable supplier.
So going from the lab to that pilot, what is for you? What is the nicest thing about doing that scaling up?
Well, so certainly at the pilot plant, one of the things is working with people. The pilot plant has been a real eye-opener. The level of expertise has been great, and the systems we've got there has been invaluable in moving us forward into scaling up. There are certain things that we can do in the lab that just wouldn't be replicated at scale. It's good to have that critical friend that tells you, actually, no, that's not possible, or that's not the way to do that. It's as we go through that scaling up process. So that's been really invaluable to us as a company. And other than that, it's the variety and range of equipment and processing and things that you can try as we're scaling up that really makes the pilot plant stand out, because it's that flexibility to work around any challenges that we do have. So that's been great in terms of the process in the scaled-up process looks a little bit different from the lab-based process. So that's a testament to the collaboration.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you for the nice word. Maybe just one final question. So yeah, 2020 will go into history as the year of COVID-19. How did this COVID-19 affected the collaboration?
So thankfully, actually, our work with the pilot plant is one of the few things that weren't really affected by the COVID-19 situation. Yeah, okay, a few things were a little bit slowed down. We weren't able to visit as much as, well, at all, really, which would have been great to do. But we did have to shut down our lab operation for a bit. We did have reduced staffing in our labs, same with the pilot plants, I imagine. But actually, the collaboration went on as scheduled, really, during that whole of the last 6 to 9 months. So it's actually been testament to everyone's hard work that we've actually managed to pull that through and not allow COVID to affect us, thankfully, too much.
Yes, indeed, it's very hard times for everyone, but we'll try to manage as good as possible. Okay, Jeremy, thank you very much for these nice words, and I hope we can see each other soon in real life now. So thank you once again, and I'll give the word back to Muriel. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much, Nico and Jeremy, for this interesting interview. So now we've come to the Q&A session, to the real and non-virtual questions. Thank you so much for posting these. We'll select some that we will answer now. But first of all, let me apologize for the turbulence we had during this flight, which is really due to our internet provider. But don't worry, this event will stay online for some time, so you can review it. So our first question is to Paul de Kramer of InBios. Are you still there, Paul?
Yes, I am.
So Carlos asks, are HMOs, so human milk oligosaccharides, also used for other applications than baby food?
Yes, they are. HMOs are currently used in 2 market segments, which is infant formula, which is the main volume driver, and secondly also dietary supplements. There are already many products out. I think in total we have more than 150 product launches since in the last 2 years for HMOs in both markets. But if you look a little bit longer term, I think there's a lot of potential given the health benefits which can be allocated to HMOs. There's a lot of potential in functional food and beverages, pet food, animal health. In fact, in every application where we can talk about or refer to a microbiome. So in principle, in the very long term, plant health and plant microbiomes can also be modulated or can be improved by using HMOs.
Thank you so much, Paul. So a second question goes, does InBios also make other products than human milk oligosaccharides?
Well, it's clear that we are not an HMO company, so we are a specialty carbohydrate company, and HMOs are a segment within the specialty carbohydrate family. We are currently working on other products which are absolutely no human milk oligosaccharides. For other applications, there's quite some interest, not only from the research community for glycans. So we are trying to support this research, but also more application work with glycans and other specialty carbohydrates.
Thank you so much, Paul, and also for being with us today. And to the audience, please review the presentation of Paul later today. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
I see we also have a question for Jeremy Gentis of Cambridge Glycoscience. Jeremy, are you still there?
Yes, I am, and I'd just like to introduce Roberto Chiocchio, who's our Senior Development Scientist with the company, who's been closely working with the pilot plant as well.
That's great. Hi, Roberto. Nice to meet you. Maybe you can both answer this question. So how long did your internal development program take before you got in touch with the BioBase Europe pilot plant?
A remarkably short time, or especially with you know, my previous record of working in some large companies, an incredibly short time. So from concept to first trials at the pilot plant, I'd say it was probably about 6 months. And that's really in the nature of the product and the ingredient that we're making. It's a sugar replacement, and therefore scale is important. And so we had to scale fast, and that's also something our investors like.
Great. So I see Chris asked, do you have more products than the ones you've scaled up at the Biobase Europe pilot plant? So more products in the pipeline?
No,
I can do it. Yeah, yes, by all means. So sugar and carbohydrate, just like we heard from Paul, is a platform from which you can diversify in many directions. So maybe we're not quite in the same specialty space, but through producing the first ingredient, we have a platform from which to diversify into other food ingredients with similar properties or similar functional properties, but maybe in slightly different forms, and also different classes of materials that go beyond the food space, maybe into things like cosmetics or even materials.
And I see there's a third question here. When will we be able to find your products on the market?
So that's an interesting question. We'd like to answer as soon as possible. I think in this case, the pilot plant, BBP has been very helpful because we are already producing some food safe material. We are a few months away from like from a launch, but you'll hopefully hear from us very soon. And as we scale up even further, you'll see us in more and more places.
We look forward to that. So thanks, Roberto and Jeremy. And thanks again for the interview. Very much appreciated. Have a nice day.
Thank you, you too.
So I see we have some questions for our Biobase Europe pilot plant colleagues. And one of those questions, or actually two questions from Chris and Lina. So do you work with many types of feedstocks and microbes? And which biomass types do you work with? So I pass this question to Hendrik.
Thank you, Muriel. We do a lot of different types of projects, as you might have also seen from the presentation. Different microbes can be bacteria, can be yeast, can be fungi, can be microalgae. I think the only prerequisite is that it is biosafety level 1. And I think throughout the years we've run more than 350 projects for companies. So we didn't keep track of all the different types of microorganisms we've worked with, but it's a lot. To address the question on feedstock, also there we've worked with a broad variety of feedstocks, lignocellulosic material, non-lignocellulosic material. So think about forestry waste as you have seen in the video, but it can also be agro-industrial side streams, so side streams from agriculture like wheat straw, corn stover, corn cobs, flax chives, etc., etc. Or it can be side streams from the food processing industry. So sugar-rich streams that can be valorized, can be used to make bio-based products from.
A very pertinent question from Alexandra, also to Hendrik. €1 million service fee. What is included? How many runs? How many batches?
You got me there, I think. So it's not a promise. You've seen on the slide what the program could be. This is of course an artificial program. So we think that depending on the complexity of the fermentation process, depending on the type of unit operations you will need, price can differ quite significantly. But I would say on average, the program that I've shown on the slide, 10 runs at 150 liter scale and DSP tests, 5 1,500 liter runs and DSP, and 3 15,000 liter runs. That's more or less what you would get for a €1 million service fee.
Dirk Sinderman from GEA asks us the following question. Can additional equipment, for example rental equipment, be brought into the plant?
Yes, it can, and it happens quite frequently. I think as we have a lot of different customers here in the plant, as a lot of people in non-COVID times also visit us, I think when you're an equipment manufacturer and you have equipment for rental that you can place here in the Biobase Europe pilot plant, I think you have some nice exposure. Of course, I think you've seen through the flight, through the drone flight, and through the videos that we have a lot of equipment here at the Biobase Europe pilot plant, but of course we don't have all the different types of unit operations that exist in our business. So sometimes we bring in rental equipment, can be very helpful, and then if we see we have to use it very frequently, we try to find a solution also to purchase it.
And we have two questions from Sergio. So one is, can you work with US-based customers? And the other is, who owns the IP in the end?
We do a lot of work for US companies. We've seen that in non-COVID times, people like to travel to the Biobase Europe pilot plant. They followed up a lot of the different trials. I think it was very helpful for them to see real life what happened. Of course, during COVID times, it has been a lot more difficult, but we've seen that it has not been a showstopper to our customers. So the US-based customers, they stayed with us. We've tried to find solutions to provide enough data, video material of the test, etc., so that at least they have more or less the same feeling, more or less the same experience as if they would have been here at the Biobase Europe pilot plant. The second question on IP, that's maybe a more difficult one. Let's say we always try to find an agreement between both parties that where the background IP remains with the party that has developed the IP. For the foreground IP, the project results, we try to find a solution where the customer is able to use the results. I think that's quite crucial. If they pay a service fee for the piloting work, that they can also have access to the results. That's obvious. But of course, we also try to find a solution where the Biobase Europe pilot plant is not blocked in its future projects. So that's why we come up with a proposal that I think is beneficial for both parties.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to land. Thank you so much for your attention. We hope you enjoyed the flight and the atmosphere, and we also hope you will reach out to us on your trip from the lab to the market. Have a beautiful trip.